Scarlett Johansson is not happy with Marvel and Disney right now. PlayStation gave us a look at my cat's favorite action-adventure, Stray. And I speak with the writer and the game industry consultant keeping Ryan Reynolds' Free Guy authentic. All that and the latest and everything cool today in The Rundown. Hey, welcome to The Rundown, everybody. My name is Victor Lucas. Thank you for joining me in the Electric Playground. We've got a great show for you today, and it's brought to you by our friends at the Gaming Stadium. They are Canada's leader in online esports tournament facilitation. They've got tournaments happening every single weekend. Lots of cool things going on with the Gaming Stadium. You can find out about them at tgs.gg. All right, today's episode is dedicated to a person named Aragorn7884. They had this to say about Bobby Kotick. Bobby is doing damage control for shareholders. I'd like to know why the 4% on that poll think he should stay. WTF, only corporate suits get golden parachutes, even if he were to leave. Yet you and me leave a company and we are SOL. A lot of aggravation, a lot of anger. Still, it's floating out there around the way that the executives have been handling not only the running of Activision Blizzard, but the way that they've been responding to the lawsuit and the complaints. Still a lot of work and a lot of discussion and a lot of things to cover with whatever is going to go down with Activision Blizzard. I just, like I said yesterday, I wish everybody that has been mistreated the very best in all of this. All right, let's switch over. Speaking of people feeling mistreated, let's switch over to the rundown. All right, we got the news today that Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney and Marvel for the way that she was cut into the profit participation on Black Widow. And this has yet once again to do with the fact that she was expecting a bigger payday based on box office receipts. But as we all know, Black Widow was not only put into theaters, and it did a pretty good box office opening. I think it came out at about $80 million on its first weekend, but there was a substantial drop the following weekend. Of course, movie theaters were not happy about that because Disney also put Black Widow on Disney Plus as one of their premier access movies, and a lot of people chose to view it that way. It did a pretty sizable amount of business for its opening weekend on Disney Plus. I love this movie. I think it's great, but more importantly than that, I think Scarlett Johansson is awesome, and she has been an undeniable, treasure in the Avengers story, and the way that she handled the character of Natasha Romanoff was absolutely wonderful. So I definitely want there to be peace in this transaction. I don't think that if Chris Hemsworth or Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. had similar complaints, I don't even know if it would get into the trades, quite frankly. I feel like a lot of that stuff would have been handled immediately behind closed doors, and I just think it's kind of unfortunate that not only is Scarlett Johansson I think her character could have been, more properly handled the way that they did the stuff with Endgame. Like Iron Man got this amazing send-off, and not quite the same thing with Black Widow, although she did finally get her standalone film. It's messy and it's unfortunate because this is a series that millions of people around the world love. I love it, and I certainly love her contributions to the film franchise. I just, I want everybody to get along, just like Black Widow's family in the movie. Can they work it out? Can Marvel and Disney and Scarlett Johansson's representation work it out? It certainly speaks to the idea that we probably will never see Scarlett Johansson in the MCU again. But hopefully there'll be some good news out of this. As it stands right now, I think that Marvel and Disney have made so much freaking money based off of these wonderful properties and these characters, and certainly these were great opportunities for these actors, but I think they should just play fair with Scarlett Johansson. And if they promised a box office cut and a bigger paycheck, she should get it. That's my thought on all that. So we'll follow that story and we'll see where they go with that. Right now, though, let's turn our attention away from Black Widow to cute little kitty cats. PlayStation and Annapurna Interactive showed off a little bit of Stray today. This is an indie-developed game from a studio named B12, and it's a game that I've had my eye on, not just because you play a cat, and not just because you interact with robots. Well, I guess it is. It's because you play a cat and you interact with robots in a future city, and all of those things speak to me. It kind of looks like you get to play like a cat in a Blade Runner dystopia. Every video game has to have a dystopia. But that's okay, because you get to play a cute cat, and you've got to kind of navigate through all kinds of hazards, and you've got to use your wits and pick up items and solve puzzles, and it just looks delightful. I think the visuals look really, really cool. We didn't know when we were going to get this game, and I was immediately enchanted by it when Sony was showing off stuff around this game earlier this year. And I think they even showed a little bit last year as the PlayStation 5 was kind of being unveiled. And I just thought, oh my God, this looks so unique and so original. We don't get to play as cats often enough in video games. I think they kind of nailed it. I like the environmental art. I like the technology that's sort of interwoven in here. I like this idea that you're interacting with screen-faced robots. It looks moody and spooky. But I'm a cat owner, and I love my cat Pearl, and I think anybody that understands and appreciates, cats in their life can recognize how intelligent they are and how much personality they have. And I think that this is going to be really freaking cool. So I think we're all going to be able to go on the Stray Cat adventure in early 2022 is what they're saying. But it's also coming out not just for PlayStation 5, it's also coming out for the PlayStation 4. That is an indie game that I have my sights set on, and I hope it doesn't disappoint. Can't wait to play Stray. All right, I want to talk a little bit now about Free Guy. Free Guy is hitting theaters on August 13th, and I'm going to be able to see it a little bit earlier, so I'll come back and share my thoughts on this movie. Great word of mouth. This is about a character played by Ryan Reynolds, who is a video game non-player character that kind of becomes self-aware and realizes that there's more to life than just the role that has been engineered for him. And something cool has come out of this movie. One of my friends, Mika, who runs Digital Eclipse, I've had him on the show many times over the years and in Vic's Basement many times. He's a wonderful guy, but he actually has been consulting with various movie creators. And in fact, he did consult with Free Guy, and he's become friends with Zach Penn, who is a celebrated screenwriter in Hollywood, has worked on tons of things. And I've got a full interview with Zach and Mike that I'm going to share as a podcast. It'll be a video podcast and an audio podcast, but I wanted to share a couple little clips with you guys right now.
Stories have nothing to do with the experience of game playing, right? Like, game playing is all about you controlling the world you're in. So for me, it was more that Ready Player One had a really strong story at the center of it that was worth adapting,
Totally. Yeah.
So, which is not often true with video game adaptations, I actually think that's why Free Guy, both Mike and I think we have very similar tastes in this way. Making a movie in which video games and gamers are part of the fabric of the movie works as well as making lawyers or doctors or superheroes part of the movie. That it's a culture that's interesting to depict. It's just when you try to capture the feeling of a video game in a movie, that's where I think people go wrong, because, it's just, I remember reading the Doom script and getting and no offense to whoever wrote this, but getting some point and said, and now we go into Doom vision, first person shooter vision, something you've never seen before. And it goes into great lengths. And I was like, this is a POV shot. Basically,
we've seen it all our lives.
Yeah, that's
So during the conversation with these two, it was really, it was a wonderful kind of exercise, and something I always look forward to when I can mix disciplines and mix perspectives like that. Everybody's creative, right, across these different disciplines, these different media platforms out there, and there's a lot of intersection, but they come at everything with their own viewpoints and their own perspectives. So it's really interesting to talk with people like that, and it's something that I love to do. Here's another quick little clip with Zach Penn and Mika.
Film and game technology are merging together. You have Epic with Unreal that is now spread across both worlds, and we're using the same tools to tell stories, same tools to build worlds. And it's just getting closer and closer to being like a very unified entertainment kind of group rather than just being what we've always seen for many years, these very separate kind of worlds. Like if we were working on a game, say we were working on a Free Guy game, and we would probably get the call like 3 months ago saying, hey, the movie is going to be out in a few months. Can you make a whole game and get it out in time? And that's going to be AAA 90% on Metacritic. It's like we get those kind of calls all the time. But now we're being more involved. We're involved more at the very beginning of an idea, because we're also playing a role. Now we've got 2 other projects going on in the studio where we're playing a role in helping build the world itself for the film, as well as like planning on doing an interactive aspect of this. And the interactive side is not going to be just here's a bunch of mini games in the world anymore. It's actually, okay, we're going to create an experience, because when somebody goes to the movie, like say when you go see Star Wars, then you go to Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, you just want that extension and live and breathe in that world. Well, now you can do that because the whole world's been built and you can walk into that now. So what is the experience going to be there?
And then talk about like the perfect kind of intersection of filmed entertainment and video game technology and location-based kind of content all sort of meeting. And, both of you guys can answer this, but I'll throw this to Zach. Do you feel like consumers now, people that love entertainment, don't make those barriers, don't put up those distinctions? They travel from one piece of entertainment, whatever screen they might enjoy it on, to another, and it all is part of grist for the mill?
Honestly, no. I actually don't think. I actually think what Mike is hitting on is where the confluence is really occurring, which is Ready Player One. We were using video game engines, and we were using the same techniques that are used for video games with motion capture, for example. We are using them in the same way that video games do to create their world. But the big distinction that's sometimes missed, particularly by people on the film side, is that the experience of playing a game is almost, if you try to make a game feel just like the movie, the problem you're going to have is that I don't want to play a game where I'm a passive participant in the story. And so gameplay is still hugely important. It's still central to the experience. And you'd be surprised how many meetings I've had with people who, claim to be huge gamers, and they talk about, I just want it to be like the movie. And I'm like, well, slow down. The game designers really they have to create their own world, and that's just as important.
Zach Penn's a very smart dude, and he's also written for some video games. He's been around games for a long time. He did that Atari documentary. That's where Mike and Zach met, but I'll let those guys tell you the story in the podcast, so make sure you come back for that. But I'm excited to find out what you guys think of Free Guy. I'm going to be seeing it in Vancouver, actually. I'm going to be hosting a screening thanks to our friends at 20th Century Studios Canada. And I've been able to invite a whole bunch of Vancouver-based EP fans. So I'm going to be seeing it. And this is kind of one of my first out in the wild going to see a movie kind of experiences. So I'm very excited about that. But let me know what you think. Are you stoked to see Free Guy? How do you think it's going to turn out? The buzz is good, you guys. I don't want to hype you up too much, but the buzz is good. All right, I've got a couple of quick things I don't want to tell you about. Blastmaster 3 dropped a trailer today, and this is a very cool franchise made by Inti Creates, and it's based off of an old Sunsoft NES series. I used to love the Blaster Master franchise back in the day, and did I call it Blastmaster? I think I did. Well, Blaster Master is crazy fun because you can drive this cool tank, and then you can hop out and have these kind of more familiar, your character against the environment kind of action as well. Great kind of anime flair and style to it. I've got the first 2 games. I haven't beat them. I've gotten pretty far into the first one, and I played the second one a little bit, but the third one is already here, and I am dying to get into this one as well. I have a great time every time I jump back into them. Maybe I'll stream some of the Blaster Master games. I think that'd be a lot of fun. It's hitting the Nintendo Switch on today, I think. I think this is the launch trailer. I think you can actually download this right now. And the cool thing about all of these games is they're not that expensive, and this is the last in the trilogy, so they might do some kind of connection or collection. They might put them all together. But if you haven't checked them out, definitely check out the Blaster Master games. I think you'll be very impressed. All right, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the storage hubbub that's happening right now with the PlayStation 5. they have announced that beta users of PlayStation 5 software, the firmware, can start to install M.2 SSD expansion drives into the PlayStation 5 console. It is not, as easy as putting hard drives into consoles in the older days. You have to sort of have a little bit of technical awareness. You've got to take off the plastic surroundings of your PlayStation 5 and get in there, and you've got to slot it in. So there's a lot of speculation that this is going to be a little bit more cumbersome than most users are going to want to do, and also the price on M.2 SSD cards is going to be incredibly expensive right now. But PlayStation 5 is kicking butt. They just announced that they have sold more than 10 million units, and they've sold 6.5 million copies of Miles Morales, the Spider-Man Miles Morales game. So this is, a huge success story for PlayStation 5. And what's crazy about this is that people are still having a lot of trouble finding the franchise. They're finding the game systems. They still can't find them in the stores, but it's doing really, really well. And hopefully our concerns about how to, put in more storage in the PlayStation 5 will kind of get rectified and won't be quite as cumbersome and tricky as, the speculation is out there. I'm kind of nervous about taking my PS5 apart to put more hard drive storage in there. I really want to, though, because the 650 gigs that they give you just gets eaten up really quick. I'm always, taking stuff off the drive, deleting it, and reinstalling it, re-downloading it. Woe is me. At least I have a PlayStation 5, I know. And then finally, I've got one last thing to tell you guys about. It's the Xbox Live Gold games for the month of August. We've got Darksiders 3, which I think is probably the most exciting. Get to play as Fury with the whip. Yooka-Laylee, which is, got a kind of a rare aesthetic to it, which is really cool. Lost Planet 3, and then a game from SNK called Garu Mark of the Wolves, which is part of the Fatal Fury franchise. I think Darksiders 3, I enjoyed that game quite a bit. I don't think it was as good as the first two Darksiders games. I think Darksiders 2 is still the best one, but it's a really cool franchise. I love the aesthetics. I love the action and the combat and the exploration. It's kind of like a God of War, the traditional God of War, the original PlayStation 2 and 3 God of War games fused with Zelda. And then they also they've done some tangents with Darksiders as well. Yooka-Laylee is, it's like a Banjo-Kazooie type of experience made by some ex-Rare people, and then also a lot of game developers that miss the old Rare days and wanted to build something kind of akin to that. And Lost Planet 3, I remember feeling like this was a more action-oriented iteration on the Lost Planet franchise, but it was tuned, had a little bit of influence that was pretty apparent from the incredibly successful Gears of War franchise. But you're getting into giant robots and you're fighting giant beasts, and you're exploring frozen environments. It's a fun experience. And then this is, a Fatal Fury, classic SNK type of fighting experience from 1999. It's backwards compatible on all the platforms. I think every one of these 4 games you can play on Xbox One or S or X. So not too shabby if you're an Xbox Live Gold subscriber. You got a bunch of pretty cool games right there. So good show, Xbox. All right, that's going to do it for the rundown today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back with a brand new one before you know it. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for hitting the follow button or the thumbs up button. Thank you for sharing the content. Thank you to all of our EPN members. We will see you soon. And until then, play forever.